meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard. Because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country's become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't,
well, he
wasn't
apologized
calling for violence. But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen? What do you
a,
want to see happen?
And over 55% of respondents felt that murdering President Trump would be, quote unquote, somewhat justified.
Wow, guys, former FBI Director James Comey just got some scary news for threatening Trump. You guys got to check this video out.
Homeland Security just launched an investigation into former FBI Director James Comey for threatening to 86 President Trump. Comey posted this picture of seashells spelling out 8647, claiming he just ran into him on the beach. Comey says he knew it was a political message, but didn't know what 86 meant. Tulsi Gabbard's the director of national intelligence. Are you buying that the former FBI director didn't know what 86 Trump?
And so far, guys, what are you thinking about this new news that came out? You know, you have a former FBI director calling it out, 8647. You know how deep that is and how scary that is for someone for such high power to be doing that. I'm telling you guys, all the odds were against Trump, and now he's standing tall.
Absolutely not, Jesse. That is a ridiculous and insane statement to make, certainly within this context, but especially coming from a guy who's the former director of the FBI, a guy who spent most of his career prosecuting mobsters and gangsters, people who know and execute other humans and use this exact lingo of 86. Comey himself admitted in his follow-on message that he knew that this was a political statement. Well, the only reason he knew that, Jesse, was because a little over a month ago, a bunch of anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk protesters were proliferating the use of this 8647 slogan, which was a veiled call to action to murder the sitting president of the United States. So for Comey to think that we, the American people, are so stupid as to think that he, as a former FBI director, former prosecutor, and someone who clearly pays attention to what's going on, would believe his lie that he didn't know what this actually was calling for. The dangerousness of this, Jesse, cannot be underestimated. When we have 2 assassination attempts on the president's life, when we have people who look to guys like Comey, who've been celebrated by MSNBC and the Democrat elite and CNN as the beacon of integrity, the law and order guy, the guy who would tell the truth no matter what the consequences. This is the guy who's issuing a hit on President Trump, the president that the American people voted.
That's serious, guys. It doesn't get deeper than that. And it's sick. It's literally sick. This guy's issuing a hit on him like people already haven't tried to take his life. You know how that feels for me to be American and to walk on this soil, that they're going against the president, the guy that's trying to actually make America great. Ironic that I say that in this moment, but how can you be the enemy within that bad? All he's trying to do is just get rid of the illegals and charge the tariffs and charge other people for taking advantage of the U.S. like they've been doing for a really long time. And this guy Comey is the exact guy that was locking people up that use 86. And now he suddenly forgets what it means when he posted. Is that not backwards?
For. So it's guys like Comey and others who call the president the modern day Nazi, people who are in great positions of influence, who are saying that President Trump poses an existential threat to our country. These are people who hate democracy and hate the American people because they cannot stand that the people overwhelmingly chose to elect Donald Trump and send him back to the White House. So they are seeking other means to get their way and to try to remove him from that position.
How serious is the administration taking this, and what are the next steps going to be?
We're taking this very seriously. As you mentioned, the Department of Homeland Security, and specifically Sean Curran, the current Secret Service director, a man who has been willing to lay down his life as the lead of President Trump's Secret Service detail for years now. He takes this seriously and is leading the investigation into this threat. There has to be accountability for this. There was a Rutgers study that just came out a little over a month ago, Jesse, that asked respondents their view on these calls to assassinate President Trump. And over 55% of respondents felt that murdering President Trump would be, quote unquote, somewhat justified. This is the effect of
that right there is the effect of propaganda. I already know. That's what propaganda does to a society over time. That's not even politics. That is brain rot. At some point, that is brain rot. You know, you got all this stuff going on in the media, and all you guys are going to sit there and say, murdering President Trump would be justified. TDS is real.
People like James Comey doing this kind of stuff. This study also pointed out that there is a quote unquote assassination culture that is starting to take over the views of what they call the extreme left. We, the American people, cannot take this lightly. Whatever your politics, we cannot allow people to get by without being held accountable for this kind of public call to assassinate the President of the United States.
Do you believe that Comey is goading you guys to come after him because he wants to be a political martyr? He wants to be set up so he can say, oh, look, we were right. Donald Trump is a dictator. They're coming after me. They're arresting me. They're interrogating me. I was just using my free speech.
You know, whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who is issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has
Exactly, man. These guys like Comey, it's a classic victim play. You know, you poke the bear, and then you cry oppression once the bear wakes up. And I think this guy needs to face every extent of the law, and they need to make an example out of him, just like they sent the illegals to El Salvador. They need to make an example out of Comey. There needs to be something extreme that a lot of people are gonna be like, oh no, this is what Trump should be. Oh, he's a dictator. Come on, man. Come on, what are we talking about?
James Comey, our former FBI director, posted on Instagram something that many are interpreting as a call for violence on the president. Look at this. The caption reads, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." And it says 8647.
So this is what the former director is saying in response to this. It literally makes no sense, but here it is. I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assume were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. It's never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. So what political message did you think it represented?
Just in case you don't know, most people do. In the dictionary, it defines 86 as slang for to throw out, to get rid of, and to refuse service to. A lot of restaurants use this. When I was a waitress, they would put 86 green beans.
If you would have put 8646 when Biden was in office, they would have been raided your house before the post even got 50 likes. You know? And there was a guy, I don't want to say too much because of terms of service, but if there was a guy in Utah that spoke out against Biden and that guy was unalived, do your research on that. It's not hard to do your research on that. I'm just saying how far they're willing to go for the stuff that they care about. Pay close attention to the stuff that they're willing to go the extra mile for versus what they don't care for. Ooh, this is so much. Let's keep going.
On the chalkboard, so you knew we were out of it.
But like when it comes to law enforcement, a lot of times 86 means death.
That's
right. Kill him by 86 to him, he's dead. So we thought the head of the FBI has to know what 86 can be used. Why would you post that? Number one, who cares what James Comey thinks? All he spends his time on the beach. I'm wondering, did he do that rock formation?
Right, I was wondering that too.
Or do you think he just walked on and thought you'd share it? So this caused Don Jr. stumbled on it first and said, are you calling for the assassination of my dad?
Yeah.
So here's the president responding to it.
He knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country's become respected again, and all this. and he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't,
Well, he
wasn't calling
apologized
for
because he was
violence. But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen?
He is a,
What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing, and when you add his history to that, if he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop, and if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency, but I'm going to let them make that decision.
I'm not gonna lie, Comey needs to be dragged into the courtroom today and he should be forced to explain this. Because what happened to no one's above the law? Or does that only apply when it's a versus Trump? I'm really getting sick and tired of this. Trump has survived assassination attempts already. How many more does a person have to go through for you to believe this and take this seriously? Do you know how crazy this sounds in the year 2025? How many more assassination attempts does President Trump need on his life before we take this seriously? We gotta act now, man. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And as always, let me know what you react to. We're out.